These are my biggest financial flops in my early 20s.
Here's a story about a dumb mistake I made in my 20s.
Today, my friends, we're going to be looking at a few real examples of people making financial mistakes. And more importantly than this, the real lessons that we can learn from these people so that we do not make it ourselves. Because financial mistakes don't just cost you money, they cost you time, they cost you stress, they cost you relationships, they cost you lost opportunities, and sometimes they can cost you your actual future. And what makes it so scary, my friends, is that people are living their normal lives normalizing this instead of learning from it. So it's a good thing, my friends, that on this channel we're only focusing on being above average and being the better type of men with strong financial mindsets and financial disciplines in our own financial journeys to building generational wealth for ourselves and our families. Just a quick one, my friends. Hello, my name is Vic, and on this channel I break down finance content so you don't waste time or lose money like most people do. Especially, my friends, if you're in your early 20s, 30s, even 40s, you're going to benefit from this video. So make sure you watch it till the end, and let's get straight in with the first clip.
These are my biggest financial flops in my early 20s. The first one is listening to friends and family financial advice. I listened to a friend who told me to buy a certain stock at a certain time, and as no surprise to anyone, that stock proceeded to lose 50% of its value. That taught me the invaluable lesson of not listening to your friends and family for financial advice. My second biggest financial flop was using my debit card for everything. I used to hate credit cards. I was taught that credit cards are bad, debt is bad. It's only bad if you can't pay off your cards in full every single month, which is what I do. And now that I do that, I get rewards from my credit cards, I get insurances. It's just so much better than using a debit card. The next financial flop that I experienced in my early 20s was keeping all of my money in a savings account. I don't regret anything more than keeping tens of thousands of dollars in a normal savings account because I have family that was trying to teach me that the stock market is basically a casino. But if you're like me and you're buying ETFs and not individual stocks, then it's definitely not a casino. And my last biggest financial flop was not tracking my money. I had no idea what I was spending on shopping or on food, and once I actually tracked my money, that's when my net worth exploded.
Now, I've actually got a real life example for you up next, but this is very important, my friend, to have the foundation right here from what this woman said, because for me personally, this hit home. There were so many things from what this woman said that actually resonated with me initially when I first started learning about investing and developing the skill and mindset of investing and financial discipline. And it's crazy because when you're listening to them, to these four things that this woman said, they actually sounded true when I first heard them. Like, I've listened to my friends for stock advices before when I had no idea what the hell that even was. Never tracking my spending, never knowing what's coming out of my bank account, and most importantly, being scared to invest. That was the most important one, thinking it's an absolute gamble. And genuinely, I find it ironic because I'm actually quite a risk-adverse person. But if you look at this graph that I quickly made for you, my friend, the more you gauge understanding, the lower the risk becomes. That's genuinely how I perceive the world. And if you think about anything that involves risk, you will see that the more you gauge in understanding, the lower the risk becomes. Not because the risk is less, but because your understanding is more. So therefore, you know whether or not that thing is risky or not, meaning that you can make a better informed decision for you to actually then do it or not. So listen closely, my friends, because when it comes to money, any advice, any bad advice that is, can cost you years. And people often get confused between investing and gambling, but they're not the same thing at all. When you buy random hype, like in crypto, buying meme coins and stuff, sure, I would say that is gambling, that's not investing. And I have made this mistake myself as well, because that's pure speculation based on hype. That's something that is generated. That's not something that actually has any intrinsic form of value. But meanwhile, what's funny is while people think investing is gambling, the actual gamble is leaving your money in a invest account. And actually, that's a guaranteed loss. It's not even a gamble, because in gambling, at least you have a chance to win. But that is a guaranteed loss that you're going to lose money if you leave it in a savings account. I'll show you in this calculator right here. Have a look at this. If you, like this woman said, she saved tens of thousands of pounds, let's say 20,000, could be more, could be less, let's say approximately 20 grand. If that was left in her savings account with the approximate average savings interest rate, right? If you look here, with the average inflation rate at the moment being 3.3%, I put it at 3% to be generous, 3%, you could see that after 10 years, that same value, you will have just under £15,000. The £20,000 will still look the same, by the way. This is the thing that most people don't get. £20,000 will still look the same on the screen, but that £20,000 in 10 years' time will be able to afford you just under £15,000 worth of goods, meaning that you've had decreased purchasing power, and you do not want this. That is the problem when you don't develop the skill of investing, because if you did invest, you did understand how to grow your money, how to buy assets, how to utilize assets. And of course, this is based on speculation. This is not financial advice. But when you do that, you can actually see that if you were to invest the 20,000, obviously it depends where you invest in about 10 years from now, if you invested that, your future investment value based on speculation would be 54,000, just over 54,000 pounds. So you could see the difference. Your money is over doubled compared to if you left it in a savings account. And you could see, my friends, the massive difference. And why I feel it's so important, my friend, to develop a financial mindset of discipline and investing consistently, because buying and holding assets is something that the wealthy people do, and there's a reason for that. It's because they appreciate in value over time. And of course, it depends what assets you buy, because not all of them do appreciate. And inflation will definitely punish those who do not understand it, and even worse, inflation will destroy those who do not know how to invest, and those who do not invest consistently. But this is my opinion. Let's have a look at a real life example right now of someone that I can't even believe they spend this much money on a car. But anyway, let's just have a look.
Here's a story about a dumb mistake I made in my 20s, and I'll pass it on so that you can decide whether or not you might make the same mistake as what I did. So I bought a Porsche. I was 25. It wasn't a new Porsche, it was an old Porsche, and I convinced myself that it was reasonably cheap. It wouldn't lose much money in depreciation, and I would be able to enjoy it and have a bit of fun with it for a couple of years and sell it and get my money back. That was until 2 weeks in and the engine management light came on, and I thought, oh God, this sounds or feels like it's going to be expensive. And basically took it in to get it checked out, and all 4 of the catalytic converters had they're gone, basically, of course, an engine management sensor issues. And I looked at how much the cost would have been to repair it, and it would have been about £2,000. So at the time, financially, I had taken a loan out for £12,000, and I think I'd saved 7. I think the car was about 19,000. So, and it was a 10-year-old car at the time, about 50,000 miles. So realistically, should have had plenty of life left in it. Anyway, I couldn't afford it, basically. So I'd spent every penny I'd got on this, and every monthly payment that I was going to make would have been going into the car. So I didn't have any spare emergency fund. Did a video about that the other day. No emergency funds to be able to pay back or pay for any of the repairs that the car might need.
This is one of the most common financial mistakes that young men make. And I get it, I fully understand it, because we want to really look like we've achieved something, and more importantly, we just want to have a nice car because it's cool to drive in. We think it will impress the women. We think it will do more for us as well. And to be honest, driving a nice car is nice because you're going to spend a lot of time in 2 places on this world, and that's going to be in your house and in your car. So it's important that both of them are nice for you. But my friend, the problem comes when you're not making that much and when you have bigger missions to fulfill, because otherwise then you're just buying a lifestyle that then you're not financially stable enough to absorb into your life. And I think one of the most important things that the men watching these videos need to remember, success doesn't equal how good your car is. And don't forget this, because when you buy a car, let's say you can afford the monthly payments, they're not the worst, even if you have like an average salary. Problem is the maintenance, the repairs, the insurance, the monthly pressure of making sure you're budgeting correctly to pay off your car every single month, and then just stress on top of that. There's just no point. That's why for me personally, in my own opinion, I would just say buy the car full out in cash. Just buy a shitty second-hand car or whatever until you actually want to buy the one you can in cash. Or in my opinion, if you really wanted one that was a bit out of your reach, you could get a higher agreement loan, which you could put down the biggest deposit you possibly can. Make sure that your monthly expenses are no more than 10-15% per month of your monthly disposable income, and because then at the end you'll own the car. But yeah, my friends, you just want to make sure you're financially protecting yourself, because I know how it is when you see your mates driving around in really cool cars and you're there stuck with a shitty little second-hand one. Trust me, my friends, I know the exact feeling. And I genuinely think for ambitious men, especially young ambitious men, this is one of the biggest modern culture traps, because cars advertise it super well and they always go, oh, 0% interest rate. Doesn't matter even if it's a percent interest rate, my friends. The fact is that you may not be charged interest, although normally you are, but let's say even if it's 0%, the fact is you're gonna have to pay back money. And don't even get me started on the opportunity cost, where if you actually invested that money instead of spending it on the car, you would actually be substantially better off in the long term. So much better off potentially actually that it could literally cost you a mini retirement just for one car. And I've done a video on this before. So my friend, definitely do not tie your success to cars. If you're a car enthusiast, that's a different thing. I'm not a car enthusiast, so I can't really talk about that. A lot of men buy the image of success before building the stability underneath it. Literally, good example like this guy saying, want to try to get an M4 comp. Don't care about the payments. I just simply want one. On a 27k a year salary though, just go for it, or should I just save? I looked how much roughly this guy would be making on a 27k a year salary in the UK, and that's approximately round about 190 to 300 pounds that this guy will be able to afford if you're looking at 10 to 15%. So therefore, he will probably be able to afford it, but that's excluding the deposit completely. And that's excluding all the other invisible costs that will go into the car, especially with maintenance, the minor servicing, major servicing, switching catalytic converters, just everything. And also another important thing for me as well, my friends, is when I buy a car, I always buy a car that's 3 to 5 years before the current year. So we're in 2026, right, at the moment. So I would get a car between 2020, 2021 to 2023. They're still very, very good cars. You're still going to get a very nice car there, but the car will already have depreciated the most it would have in those 5 years, because cars approximately depreciate around 60% or near enough to 60% after the first 5 years. So actually you're getting it for a bargain, and it's going to keep depreciating after, but it will depreciate substantially less than if you just got the car, bought it brand new and left off the garage from there. Let other people do the hard work for you and let them depreciate the car more. Don't allow yourself to depreciate the car. And this guy says it wasn't a financial mistake, it was a financial lesson that you learned from. You only in your 20s once, and you had a Porsche at such a young age. It was a big win. For me personally, I definitely don't think so. I understand what he's saying, and I think the mentality behind it is good, but equally at the same time, Porsche is a very expensive car. Unless you have substantial income, it just doesn't make sense to buy it, especially if you're looking at your investing costs as well, which I think as a young guy, you really need to be doing that. You need to really look at your investing as an actual cost, like an actual tax to yourself, because it is for the future. You don't know what's going to happen, so you need to make sure that you are well maintained. You need to develop that skill set of investing and that discipline to consistently do it, financial mindset, etc. Personally, if you're struggling with payments, I have no idea how that's a win, especially to your mental energy. I have no idea how that's a win, but that's just me.
I lost over 30,000 in stocks about 4 years ago. I invested 40,000 of my hard-earned money into penny stocks and lost most of it because the company ended up committing fraud. In this screenshot, it says it's unrealized gains, but if you look at the current stock price right now, it's actually 2.6 cents. At the time of my investment, I was blinded by greed and convinced my stocks would double. I ended up selling my stocks at a 90% loss. It hurt a lot then, but looking back at this was actually a blessing in disguise. Losing most of my savings actually motivated me to work harder and find more ways to make additional income. I'm sharing this story to let people know that there is no such thing as get rich quick. Don't trust people when they say they can double your money or the investment is guaranteed to succeed. Always do your own research and be patient.
This is one of the hardest financial lessons that people can learn, but it's also one of the most fundamental and important ones, because you need to have that realization actually it is possible to lose money doing this. And actually, I need to know what my risk tolerance is. And risk tolerance is so important, my friends, because if you don't know what your risk tolerance is, you could just be doing crazy trades without even realizing, and you would lose a lot more money. You need to identify what that is for you. But more importantly, no matter what the risk is, like I showed you on the last graph, with the more you understand, the lower the level of risk, because you understand it more, so you can make a better informed decision. You need to sometimes go through that phase. And me personally, I've literally lost thousands, not hundreds, I've lost thousands in terms of investments when I first started out, because I didn't know, but there's no other way to know. When you learn about it and go through those mistakes, they're very expensive mistakes, but they're necessary mistakes, because now you never make them again. And I can talk you through those mistakes that I've made now. Not in this video because it'll be too long, but the fact that I've got those experiences, it's made me who I am today. And I've become a substantially better investor because of this. I found out my risk tolerances. I found out I really do not like trading. I just don't like it. But another person's reality may be different, and that's okay. It just depends on what your tolerance is. Especially when it's money you worked very, very, very hard for. Time, energy, discipline, sacrifice, all of those emotions tied into one. They're gonna cause you to feel bad. And when you do this and it doesn't succeed, that's when you're thinking, oh, let's get rich quick, let's get rich quick. No, that's not the answer, my friend. You wanna get rich for sure, not quick. And to get rich for sure, that takes time. And that's the truth. Yeah, it's gonna take compounding. This is of compounding, not just of money, but compounding knowledge, compounding your mental energy. You understand that real wealth is not built quickly, but it's built through time. And it's usually built very slowly, not emotionally, not impulsively, just consistently and patiently. And for this guy in this video, ironically, this lesson, even though it's so expensive, it probably taught him the most important lesson, which is that there is no shortcut. And ironically, that's probably going to make him more money in the long term, because he realizes that. Because in my opinion, the wealthiest people I've seen on this earth, they're not even the people that lead the most exciting lives. They're just the people that stay disciplined consistently, even when things feel so boring. Whatever you're trying to build, my friends, that's the same with everything. You're just going to have to persevere and go through it. So it doesn't feel like that for yourself and myself as well, my friends. I've actually made an online community exclusively for ambitious men who like money, who are on their own financial journeys, just to have a group of men who love investing, who love money, and who want to be in the same space together. I've left the link down below in the description for you. Definitely click it if you're a man who likes money, because at the end of the day, you need to be in this game for the long term. And when you're in a space of people that just think about this and talk about this, not only do you get to make friends with people that are similar to you, which increases your chance that you're going to stay longer on this path, but you also accidentally become more financially aware when you surround yourself with people that think about long-term wealth. At the moment, I'm looking for the first 100 members to join in, my friends, and that's why I've made it the most affordable price that it will ever be. It's not going to be any more affordable than that, but it's only for the first 100 members. There's a 7-day free trial as well to see if you like it or not. Definitely let me know what more you'd like into the community, because I can add it to make it more valuable for you, although I think you'll really enjoy it anyway already. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave it a like. Definitely subscribe to this channel, especially if you're an ambitious man who likes money. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of this video and what other videos you'd like me to do in relation to finance. YouTube recommends you watch one of these 2 videos over here. Click one and I'll see you over there, my friend.